All right, we're back here. Young Love After 50 on Live Today, AV. Cheryl Hughes.
Hello.
That owns the Whole Wheater, and Pamm Larry. They're going to have a conversation. Enjoy.
Well, Pam, I just want to tell you, thanks so much for all the work that you've been doing. This is an incredibly important thing that's happening in this country today, and it's something that we've been working on for over 2 decades. And I know that the grassroots is what makes things happen. And you have been instrumental in leading those grassroots, and I know how many hours it takes and how much work it is. So I just want to say, you deserve the AV Nice bracelet. Yay! And all of your group for all of their support.
They really did an amazing job here. Yeah.
So what do you see as the next step? Have we talked about this already? Besides Saturday's event, or?
No, we haven't talked about this yet. We have March Against, the Moms Across America March on the 4th of July.
Okay.
And I think you guys have one going on here.
Yes,
in
we
this
do.
community. And what that is it was started by a mom in Orange County who has 3 sons who have allergies, and she's taken this, and she didn't even know about GMOs until last year. At the end of the election, right before the election. And she was so outraged about what she didn't know that she decided that she needed to get moms on board. So she's having this thing where across the country, no matter where you are, you can go to momsacrossamerica.org and you can see where there's a march to join in and spread the word even more. So, and it's a family thing and a lot of fun, and I think that'll be wonderful. A lot of us are talking behind the scenes about doing another ballot initiative here in California. A big one is the funding, of course. Of
course, always.
And needing to make sure that we broaden our base of support and not have to rely on the natural food industry, which was a lot of what supported us last time, because they're kind of tapped out. So if there are any people out there that know the billionaires that know about this issue, have them contact me via labelgmos.org, and we get enough money, we're for sure going forward, get enough commitment. So, and I know we're going to win this time, because what happened a lot last time was that they had a lot of money, but more importantly, a lot of people that could have done more thought that we were going to win. So they thought their work was done, and I was just, a lot of people just were walking around shocked after it lost last time.
Well, in the 11th hour of last year is when
Yes.
they poured in all the money from the opposition, spread all the stories, and that changed everybody's mind at the last second.
Question mark.
And so it just made people like, what do I do? Is this good? Is this bad? They weren't sure. So this time we'll be ready and armed with more information, and I think GMO has become a household word. It was not a household
It was
word.
not.
And just like your mom that started this in Orange County, it's the moms, it's all of us that become aware. And sometimes it's simply awareness, how you make a decision, what you make your decision based on, where your information comes from. And somebody says, oh, hey, did you ever stop and consider about your food? And you think, well, if my food is my food, well, it's not your food. It's where your food is grown from, what it's sourced from, how it gets here. And so all this stuff changes people's dialogue. And I think that's the best part of the initiative, Prop 37, changed people's dialogue, opened up their dialogue, gave them an opportunity to become involved and really take a critical position on this.
Right.
Not for you and I, it's for our children's children.
Yeah. And speaking of children, one of the things that I like to stress to moms who are just finding out about this is that, like everything else for a mom, you're overworked, you're overwhelmed, you're overed. And so this might seem like just another thing to stack on your overwhelm. So what I like to suggest is that you take one thing to start. Just take one thing. And I suggest oftentimes that it's the high fructose corn syrup.
Absolutely, I agree.
Right. If you can't do that just yet, start with canola oil. Get rid of your canola oil. It would be better if you got rid of your high fructose corn syrup, but at least start with your canola oil and then jump to the high fructose corn syrup. Take it slow, eliminate one thing at a time, so that it's not overwhelming for you, because if you take baby steps, it won't seem like that big of a deal. But the biggest piece of this whole issue is women buying, because still 85% of all the food is bought by women. And it's about us making different choices when we go to the grocery store and talking to the grocery store managers, not here of course, but
No, here, everywhere. Wait a minute. This is everywhere.
Oh, okay, everywhere.
All natural food stores can say what they want to say, but we all know there's leakage everywhere.
Right, got
This is
those.
a problem, and people don't raise the question. I mean, when our vendors come in, we have to ask them, is this non-GMO verified? Because if it's not organic, you have to ask that question.
You do.
And people slide things, oh, this tastes great, it sells really well. Well, so what?
Right,
we have to make
exactly.
a conscious decision about
Exactly.
that. So it's part of the process, even in natural foods retailers across the United States, is weeding out these companies and saying, this is a great product, but change the source of your corn.
Exactly, and we have to do those kinds of things.
Right.
It's true. I meant at this particular store because of your consciousness.
Well, but yes.
Natural food stores have a tremendous amount of genetically engineered stuff and stuff that we don't really want in our food. that's another whole debate about natural food. But at any rate, getting back to it is just, doing little things. Like my daughter has 2 sons. She can no longer help with, being out on the streets right now. But what she does do is when she has time, she makes phone calls to the companies that she used to buy products from and which she no longer does. She changes her, she swaps things out slowly, little bits at a time. And so I think it's really, really important to realize that any little piece that you do, and every time you raise your voice, one of the most beautiful things I learned about on this campaign is that legislators are afraid of mothers.
Well, they're afraid of people with voices, and mothers are particularly powerful voices because all of the things that come behind them.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So you have a lot of say in this, and we can have all the labels we want, but if people don't change their buying behavior and not buy the stuff, then it's just going to stay. So it's really important to make those small changes so that it's not hard on your family, but to make them for the health of your children. There's a new study that was just broadcast on Tuesday that was conducted where they did long-term feedings trials, where they were feeding them the same way they feed on the farms, and those pigs were found to have inflamed stomachs, and the uteruses or uteri, is that how you actually do it, were larger than normal. And they had this study because they were finding that a lot of the pigs in the Midwest are aborting, or they're having small litters, and they're having like babies. There's no baby in the sack. And this is happening all over the place with the folks who grow hogs. The pigs have a very aggressive behavior. They take them off the GMO feed and it all goes away.
Wow, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, imagine that. And look at us. Look at our rates of infertility. Look at our rates of gastrointestinal problems. Look at our rates of having to... I was walking past a museum yesterday about psychiatry, whatever, and it was a negative about psychiatry, and the big poster said that there are like 3,000 prescriptions for like depressants for babies under 1. I mean, I was shocked with this. And this has to do with our food, because the gut and the brain, they're starting to call the gut the second brain. So anyway,
I think it's the first brain, if you want to know the truth, because sometimes it tells you this one's being stupid. I mean, every once in a while when it acts out and you don't feel good, you have to start listening to it with your other brain. So it's really important, and I think that we've seen this in the rise of all of major chronic diseases. We've seen it in the rise of anger and really criminal behavior linked to diet. We've seen it over and over, and there's studies that verify this. We are what we eat. We cannot ever get around that. And if we continue to mutate and change and diminish our food supply, we too will be mutated, changed, and diminished.
we are.
Yes, we are. If you don't want something, don't buy it. And if you want it to change, tell all of your friends not to buy it. That's how change comes about. And when you're in restaurants and when you're out to eat, start to ask that question about, where does your food source come from? Where's your corn come from? What are you using in this? Because we've seen what's happened with gluten-free foods in restaurants, on airlines, all over the world. So people's demand has changed that and made it on a diet, a normal thing for people to get gluten-free food. Now we have to say, what about GMO foods? What's in the food source that you're buying? We have to always put pressure on the food suppliers, the people that are bringing us food, saying, hey, that's a really great product, but where's your corn from? Hey, that's a really great product, but we don't want this ingredient in that. And that's what you do. Well, I'm not going to buy it because it contains X, Y, or Z. And it's just what you said, one thing at a time, one small change. If you even read just the labels looking for high fructose corn syrup, it'll change your whole world, because it's almost inescapable.
Right, and it's bad because it's genetically engineered. It's from a genetically engineered corn, but it's also bad because of what it does to our bodies. The body can't recognize it. It doesn't know what to do with it.
Right.
And so it puffs.
And originally, everybody used fructose, which was really from fruit. That's so long ago, we have no memory of that. So it's sort of morphed into this high fructose, which people think, some people still think there's fruit there. There's no fruit. It comes from corn. Always came from corn. So it's just a learning curve, and I think that's the wonderful opportunity we have in this country. We can learn. We can affect legislation. I mean, if you think that one little person or one little thing can't change the world, look at what one mosquito does. Changes the world. So we're all the mosquitoes. Our bites, our voices, our buying dollars can change the world. One buy at a time, one purchase at a time, one bite at a time.
Yeah. And joining with folks of a like mind, and realizing that you have a lot of support out there, even though you may not feel it in this moment, within maybe your family it might be a little bit of resistant. You know, I know a lot of women talk about, well, I eat really cleanly, but my husband doesn't. And, you know, I've heard that if you get your guy, women out there, if you get your guy to watch a movie called Genetic Roulette, which you can watch online, that sometimes flips people and makes the husbands know that that come up with this feeling of the need to protect their family instead of it just being another, whatever, crazy person.
Well, generally, if you cook it, they will eat it. So you don't really have to have the dialogue initially. They'll like the food, and then you can talk about what you've changed in the food. Because sometimes that's how people change other people's diets. So then you have the conversation, well, this is a great meal because I've gone to the trouble to buy you all organic food, and maybe it tastes better, maybe it's because I put all this love into it, maybe it's a combination of things. And by the way, did you happen to know what a GMO is? People think it's the same as, I don't know, people think that it's the same as when we used to change seeds, but it's not the same. Mm-hmm. This is a true gene insert. It completely changes the dialogue about everything. Yeah. So it's not just a seed that we have hybridized. It's completely different. And I think that's where people's understanding is lost.
Right. And a lot of times people, I don't know if they've talked about the definition here because I came in after the show started, but it's about taking genes from one species and putting them into another in a lab, or extracting certain things from the same species and putting them in the lab. There are new types of genes. They're called dsRNAi or RNAi or dsRNA, and what they do is they switch things on and off instead of. And many people, Jeffrey Smith, talking with him, he's actually more worried about those than he is about the transgenics and the cisgenics. But where they'll go in and they will simply flip one of the genes, and so not understanding what it can do to the whole structure. I mean, this is the thing that drives me crazy. The one gene, one trait thing. It's just a fallacy, and the new science of epigenetics is showing us more and more that it's about the holism, and that we don't understand. One of my big things is we don't understand what we don't understand.
Absolutely.
And another thing I like to always bring up when we talk about science is my old bacteria professor 30 years ago, once he said, a scientific fact is one that lasts longer than 3 years. So we can be screamed at all we want about this is science, but it changes.
Yes, it does.
And that's the nature of science. And our awareness to it, opens up new awareness of things that we didn't think to look for before.
Yep.
So I think it's really important for us to be humble with this technology.
Yes, because there's things that it's applicable for that might do some amazing things for us.
It could be.
But maybe not in our food system today.
Exactly.
And sometimes when people eat a tomato and they say, I can't have tomatoes anymore, could it have been the fish gene that was implanted in the tomato? We don't know. Well, I am allergic to fish. Oh, well, gee, maybe it's really not the tomato then. So it's going to make all these complications that people don't understand. Mm-hmm. And we'll never know what we're really allergic to. And we are seeing food allergies skyrocket.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it goes across all illnesses and everything. And so as we end this today and think about, we've only just begun, haven't we? We'll come back again. But for now, Pamm, Larry, we're going to let you go on with your day. Just lift up all the fathers in the world. We couldn't be mothers without our fathers.
That's true. Thank you, guys.
Yay.
Thank you, guys.